Welcome back, history students, to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this, because today we're analyzing a single historical event that quite literally reprogrammed global political power. We are looking at the French Revolution, and we're not just looking at it as a series of battles or dates, but as the actual blueprint of modern democracy. Understanding this era is absolutely crucial for understanding the very foundations of the world we live in today.
So I want you to keep this central question in mind as we go through today's lecture. What if one revolution completely changed the way the modern world thinks about freedom, equality, citizenship, and political power? I mean, before 1789, the concept of ordinary citizens having any say in their government was virtually non-existent. Kings ruled. That was just the natural order of things. What we are exploring today is a massive, seismic intellectual shift, the dramatic transition from absolute monarchy to popular sovereignty.
Here is our academic syllabus for this explainer. We'll start with 1, the old order crumbles, before moving to 2, birth of popular sovereignty. Then we'll examine 3, the paradox of terror, followed by 4, the limits of equality, and conclude with 5, global democratic legacy.
Section 1, the old order crumbles, France before 1789.
Before 1789, France was one of Europe's richest kingdoms, ruled by King Louis XVI. He was an absolute monarch who believed his authority was totally unquestionable because, well, it came directly from God. Yet beneath all that lavish surface-level wealth at Versailles, French society was rigidly divided into 3 estates. The clergy and the nobility made up the top tier, and they enjoyed immense privileges. But look at this staggering reality. 97% of the population, that's the third estate, made up of peasants, workers, merchants, and the middle class. And they carried the crushing burden of literally all the kingdom's taxes. Hunger was spreading, bread prices were skyrocketing, the treasury was completely empty. And yet, this vast 97% majority had absolutely zero political voice.
Consider the era's foundational philosophical clash. On one side, you have the old order, divine right. This is where authority comes from God and birthright, and society is strictly hierarchical. On the other side, you have this radical new idea, popular sovereignty. This is the idea that political authority fundamentally comes from the people, based on universal rights. This wasn't just a minor political disagreement, folks. It was a total reimagining of human organization.
Section 2, birth of popular sovereignty, the Enlightenment.
Long before the streets of Paris erupted in chaos, a revolution of ideas was already underway, sparked by the Enlightenment. Intellectuals and philosophers like Rousseau started asking a very, very dangerous question. What if governments are supposed to serve the people and not the other way around? They introduced the idea that citizens should collectively shape their own laws. So, when a massive financial crisis forced the king to call the Estates General in 1789, that rigged system completely backfired. The Third Estate broke away to form the National Assembly, claiming they were the true representatives of the nation. And just look at the dizzying pace of this political collapse. By July 1789, citizens stormed the Bastille. By 1792, the centuries-old monarchy is entirely abolished. And by 1793, King Louis XVI is executed. In just 4 short years, the entire universe of French political power was dismantled.
So the absolutely crucial point here is what replaced that old order. In August 1789, the National Assembly adopted a document with earth-shattering implications, declaring, "Men are born and remain free and equal in rights." Now, as history students, you really have to recognize the magnitude of this single sentence. It challenged centuries of rigid hierarchy. It transformed rights from being these mere royal privileges handed down by a king into universal principles that inherently belong to citizens.
Section 3, the paradox of terror, democracy's dark side.
Now this brings us to a rather grim dialectical conflict. History is rarely a straight line of progress, right? So how did a movement born from the euphoric pursuit of absolute liberty end up justifying absolute violence? How do societies defend freedom without becoming authoritarian themselves? As radical leaders like Maximilien Robespierre gained power to fight off foreign invasions and internal rebellions, the revolution entered its most infamous phase. Under the Reign of Terror, thousands of suspected enemies, even fellow revolutionaries, were sent straight to the guillotine. The revolution essentially used violence and fear in the name of protecting the Republic and its newfound freedoms.
The Reign of Terror became this glaring, flashing warning sign to the modern world about the dangers of political extremism, ideological purity, and unchecked power. This bloodbath taught modern democracies a crucial, incredibly painful lesson. It demonstrated the absolute necessity of independent courts, constitutional safeguards, and checks and balances. Democracy without limits, the world learned the hard way, could rapidly become unstable and incredibly dangerous.
Section 4. The limits of equality. The excluded voices.
Despite all the soaring rhetoric about universal equality, massive groups remained entirely excluded from political rights. Consider this glaring contradiction. Women played a massive role in the revolution. They marched on Versailles, they organized political clubs, they protested in the streets. Yet they were denied full political rights. Olympe de Gauche boldly challenged this hypocrisy. She penned the Declaration of the Rights of Woman and of the Female Citizen, demanding that women receive the exact same rights as men, and for her radical ideas, she was executed during the Terror. It really shows us that if liberty and equality are truly universal, the question of who gets excluded becomes the central battleground for all future social justice movements.
Section 5. Global Democratic Legacy. The ideas spread.
The aftermath of the revolution was, to put it mildly, deeply complicated. Out of the chaos, a general named Napoleon Bonaparte seized power in 1799, and he eventually crowned himself emperor. For a moment, it really seemed like the democratic dream was completely dead. But ironically, through his military conquests, Napoleon actually spread those revolutionary reforms, weakening aristocratic power and introducing legal equality across Europe. So even as figures like Napoleon complicated the revolution's immediate aftermath, the core democratic ideas had already taken root globally. 1. Sovereignty belongs to the people. 2. Governments must be based on constitutions. 3. Citizens possess rights that must be protected. And 4. Political authority can be challenged. Before 1789, these were fiercely radical, almost unthinkable ideas. Today, the French Revolution has normalized these very concepts as the absolute bedrock of modern global democracy.
Perhaps the revolution's greatest and most lasting achievement was actually an invisible one. It was a complete psychological shift. It shattered the centuries-old mindset that elites somehow possessed a divine right to rule, and that ordinary people were just subjects meant to quietly accept natural hierarchy. Instead, it proved that massive, world-altering change could come from below. Citizens could actively shape their own governments. And that idea, it transformed global politics forever.
So, given its dual legacy, birthing the absolute highest ideals of liberation and universal rights, while simultaneously unleashing the darkest fanaticism and state terror, did the French Revolution ultimately help democracy more than it harmed it? It's a massive debate about the true cost of modern freedom, and it is a question I will leave to you to analyze. Thank you so much for joining me for this lecture. Keep questioning history, and I will see you in the next one.